My name is Claire Whitaker. I'm 31 years old. And until the night Ethan called me from the other side of the world, I thought I was the kind of woman who understood patience. I thought love meant giving someone room. I thought trust meant not asking too many questions. And I thought my boyfriend's need to find himself was just part of the man I loved. Ethan was 29. Restless. Charming. Always chasing some version of peace he claimed he couldn't find at home. This was his third major trip that year. 6 weeks abroad. Alone. With a backpack, a camera, and the same soft smile he used whenever I asked how long he planned to keep running from ordinary life. I supported him. That is the part that still embarrasses me. I supported the flights, the time zones, the late replies, the vague captions under sunset photos. I told myself he was adventurous, independent, deep. I told myself not every relationship had to look traditional. Then one evening, while I was chopping vegetables for dinner, my phone rang. Video call. Ethan's face appeared on the screen. Golden sunset behind him. Ocean wind lifting his hair. For 1 second, he looked like a postcard from a life I wasn't invited into. "Hey," I said. "How's it going?" He didn't smile. "Claire, I need to talk to you about something important." My stomach tightened so fast I put the knife down. "Okay." He looked away from the camera. Like the sunset deserved more honesty than I did. "I met someone here." Silence filled my kitchen. He swallowed. "Her name is Marissa. We've been spending time together. And I think we're in a situationship." I stared at him. "You're in a what?" "A situationship," he repeated. Softer. Like that made it less ugly. "It's not exactly dating. It's more like this deep connection. I still love you. But I also have feelings for her. And I wanted to be honest about my journey. My journey, that was when something in me went still. Not angry. Not yet. Just still. "So you're with me," I said. "But you're also seeing another woman. It's complicated." "No," I said. "Not anymore." His expression changed. "Wait. Are you breaking up with me? You just told me you're involved with someone else." "It's not like that. I'm trying to be honest instead of hiding it." "Doesn't that count for something?" "Sure," I said. "It counts as a breakup." "Claire, enjoy your trip." I ended the call. Then I blocked his number. For a while, I sat there in my quiet kitchen, staring at half-cut vegetables and the life I had apparently been the last to understand. Then I stood up. The apartment was mine. My name had been on the lease for 4 years. Ethan had moved in about a year earlier, paying me casually when he remembered some cash. A few Venmo transfers. Nothing formal. Nothing written. I checked the lease anyway, just my name. So I started packing his clothes, his books, his laptop, his beard trimmer, his expensive headphones, his travel journals, his meditation cushion, his little shelf of grounding stones he claimed helped him stay emotionally centered. Apparently not centered enough to avoid cheating. It took 3 hours. The strangest part was how calm I felt. Like I was performing surgery on my own life. Removing something infected, before it spread any further. When I was done, I texted him from my work phone. "Your stuff is packed. Find somewhere else to stay when you get back." His reply came almost instantly. "Are you serious?" "Yes. You can't just throw me out. I live there. You stayed here. You're not on the lease. We broke up. This is insane. We need to talk in person. Nothing to talk about. You're in a situationship. Be in it somewhere else." Then I blocked that number too. The next morning, his best friend, Ryan, called. "What is wrong with you?" he snapped before I even said hello. "Good morning to you too." "Don't do that. Ethan called me crying for 2 hours last night." "Okay. That's all you have to say. He made one mistake and you're throwing him out." "One mistake," I repeated. "He started seeing another woman. It's not a relationship." "God." "Claire. You're being so rigid. He's exploring his feelings." "Great. He can explore them from a different address. He has nowhere to go. He has family, friends, hotels, hostels, plenty of options. You're heartless." "No. I'm single." Ryan went quiet for half a second. Then he said, "You never deserved him anyway." I almost laughed. But I didn't. I just hung up. That evening, Ethan's mother called. I had only met Denise twice. Both times, she had looked at me like I was an accessory. Her son might eventually outgrow. "Claire," she said, voice trembling with accusation. "My son is devastated. He broke our relationship. He opened his heart to you. He opened it to Marissa too. Apparently, he was honest. Do you know how rare that is? He lied until honesty became convenient. You are being cruel." "No," I said. "I'm being done." She called me names I won't repeat. By then, the boxes were stacked neatly by the door, labeled and sealed. His side of the closet was empty. His toothbrush was gone from the cup beside mine. The apartment already felt colder, but it also felt honest. And after that call, honesty was the only thing I had left. The week before Ethan returned felt strangely peaceful, not happy, not healed, just quiet. The endless background noise that had become our relationship was suddenly gone. No more waiting 3 hours for a text message. No more wondering why his location tags never matched his explanations. No more convincing myself that a man who constantly needed distance somehow loved me more because of it. The apartment felt empty at first. Then it started feeling mine again. I rearranged furniture, moved the reading chair closer to the window, hacked away photos I wasn't ready to throw out but couldn't stand looking at. Every now and then I would catch myself reaching for my phone to tell Ethan something funny that happened at work. Then I'd remember he was busy finding himself, or maybe finding Marissa. Either way, it wasn't my concern anymore. The peace lasted 8 days. On the 9th day, somebody started pounding on my apartment door, hard enough to shake the frame. I looked through the peephole. Ethan. Beside him stood his older sister, Lorraine, and behind them was Ryan. Of course Ryan was there. I glanced at the clock. 9:17 a.m. Perfect. The locksmith had finished changing the locks less than 2 hours earlier. I opened the door, only enough for the security chain to hold. Ethan immediately stepped forward. "Claire." His voice sounded desperate. His eyes were red. For a brief second, I almost felt sorry for him. Then I remembered the sunset, the call, the situationship, and the feeling disappeared. "Your things are outside," I said. All 12 boxes sat neatly stacked in the hallway beside my door. His face turned pale, then red, then pale again. "You changed the locks." "My apartment." "Are you serious?" "Very." Lauren stepped forward. "Claire." "Come on." "No." "You don't even know what I was going to say." "I know enough." Ethan stared at the new lock. His expression looked genuinely shocked, as though some part of him had never believed there would be consequences, as though he'd expected me to wait patiently until he finished deciding between me and another woman. "You can't do this," he said. "I already did." Ryan pulled out his phone. I noticed, immediately. Recording. Interesting. Good morning, Ryan. People need to see this. Then make sure you get my good side. His jaw tightened. The camera remained pointed at me. Ethan suddenly started crying. Not quietly. Not subtly. Actual tears. Claire. Please. The word hit harder than I expected. 3 years together. 3 years of birthdays. Holidays. Road trips. Inside jokes. Plans. And now here he was crying in a hallway because his backup plan had failed. I made a mistake. I said nothing. He doesn't mean anything. I blinked. Ethan hesitated. Too late. Caught. The situationship, I asked. His face flushed. Marissa doesn't mean anything. Interesting. A week ago, she had been a profound emotional connection. Now she was nothing. Funny how quickly people rewrite history when they lose. I thought it was complicated. He continued. You told me it was complicated then, he said quickly. But I'd choose you. The hallway fell silent. Lauren looked hopeful. Ryan stopped talking. Even the elderly woman from apartment 5B paused while collecting her mail. Everyone waited. For my answer? For the romantic reunion. For the emotional reconciliation. For the scene that happens in movies. I looked directly at Ethan. Then I said, the only truthful thing. You don't get to choose me anymore. His face crumpled. I want to come home. This isn't your home. Ryan immediately spoke. This is unbelievable. No. I said. The unbelievable part was calling your girlfriend from another country to announce you're dating someone else. Laon Sahil. Claire. Please. No. At least let him stay one night. No. He needs time. He had 6 weeks. Where is he supposed to go? I shrugged. Hotel. Seriously. Your house. Our house is full. Then his mother's. Mom downsized. Then Marissa's. That one landed. Ethan visibly flinched. Interesting. Very interesting. Lauren noticed too. Her expression changed slightly. A crack in the narrative. A question she hadn't considered. Why wasn't Ethan staying with the woman who supposedly meant enough to risk a 3-year relationship? Ryan jumped in before anyone could pursue the thought. You're being cruel. No. You're making him homeless. He made himself homeless. Ethan wiped his eyes. Anger began replacing sadness. A familière transition. I paid rent. Sometimes. I lived here. As my boyfriend. I have rights. You have boxes. Lauren rubbed her forehead. Can we stop doing this? I'm fine stopping. Then let him inside. No. Ryan zoomed his camera closer. People are going to see this. Great. You don't care. Not really. The confidence wasn't entirely real, but they didn't need to know that inside. My heart was pounding. Outside. I looked calm. Eventually, Ethan's expression hardened. The pleading wasn't working. So he switched strategies. I'll sue you. That's your choice. You illegally evicted me. You weren't a tenant. I paid money. Occasionally. Lauren quietly said. Ethan. He ignored her. Ryan kept recording. The elderly woman from 5B openly watched now. Probably the best entertainment she'd had all month. You'll regret this. Ethan said, maybe, but not as much as I would regret taking him back. I knew that with absolute certainty. The standoff continued another 15 minutes. Eventually, Lauren started loading boxes into her SUV. Ryan finally lowered his phone, and Ethan realized nobody was winning this battle. Before leaving, he looked at me one last time. Not angry, not sad, just confused. As though he still couldn't understand why everything wasn't unfolding according to plan. You really don't care what happens to me? The question lingered. I thought carefully before answering. Because the truth mattered. I care what happens to you. Hope flashed across his face. Then I finished. I just don't think it's my responsibility anymore. Whatever hope remained, disappeared. They left. The hallway became quiet. The elevator doors closed. And just like that, he was gone. Again. Only this time, he wasn't coming back. That night, Ryan posted the video. The caption read, "This is what financial abuse looks like." Thousands of views appeared within hours. Comments exploded. Some supported Ethan. Others had questions. Mostly one question. If he was being abused, why was he dating someone else? Ryan kept deleting those comments. People kept posting new ones. The internet can be surprisingly stubborn. I ignored all of it. The next morning, the building manager knocked on my door. Everything okay? Mostly. We got a complaint. From Ethan. Probably. He glanced down the hallway. Was he on the lease? No. Then you're fine. That was the entire investigation. 30 seconds. Done. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, someone knocked on my door again. This time it wasn't the building manager. It was a process server. And in his hand was a lawsuit with my name on it. The lawsuit was thicker than I expected. Not because it contained facts, because it contained imagination. I sat at my kitchen table reading page after page of accusations that felt like they had been written about a completely different person. Illegal eviction, emotional distress, financial coercion, property theft. The property theft section was especially impressive. According to Ethan, I had apparently stolen a coffee maker I purchased 2 years before we met, several kitchen items that belonged to me, a lamp my sister had given me for Christmas, and, somehow, my own Netflix account. I read that section 3 times, then laughed so hard I nearly spilled coffee on the paperwork. The laughter lasted about 20 seconds. The anxiety lasted much longer, because ridiculous lawsuits still cost money, and time, and stress. By that afternoon I was sitting in a lawyer's office. His name was Daniel Reeves. Gray hair, sharp eyes, the kind of man who looked permanently unimpressed. He read through the documents quietly, occasionally making notes, occasionally shaking his head. Finally, he looked up. "Your ex-boyfriend filed this himself. I think his mother paid for the lawyer. That explains it. Is it bad? For him, yes." I blinked. "For me?" Daniel smiled slightly. "Claire, this is one of the weakest cases I've seen in years." The knot in my chest loosened. "You sure? Let's review." He started counting on his fingers. "Your name is the only name on the lease." "Correct." "No written rental agreement." "Correct." "No proof of regular rent payments." "Correct." "He stayed there as your boyfriend." "Yes." Daniel closed the file. "Then he's not a tenant." "What about the Venmo transfers? 10 transactions in 12 months isn't rent." "What is it?" "A boyfriend occasionally contributing to expenses." I nearly laughed. The relief felt physical, like finally breathing after holding my breath for weeks. "So what happens now? We respond. And then, we wait for reality to catch up." A week later, Daniel filed our response. We attached everything: the lease, the payment records, a statement from building management confirming I was the sole resident, the security records, the dates, the facts. For the first time since Ethan's phone call, I felt something resembling confidence. The truth was boring, but truth usually wins. A little over a week later, Daniel called. They dropped representation. "What?" The lawyer withdrew. I sat upright. Seriously. Why? Because lawyers like winning? The lawsuit didn't disappear immediately, but suddenly it had no momentum, no support, no realistic path forward. And then something unexpected happened. Lauren called. Not to yell, not to guilt me, just Lauren, alone. Hey. Hey. An awkward silence followed. Then she sighed. I don't know why I'm calling. Okay. Maybe because I'm tired. That surprised me. Tired of what, Ethan? I leaned back. Interesting. Lauren rarely criticized her brother. In 3 years together. I'd never heard it. He told us a different story. She said quietly. About what? Everything. I wasn't surprised. Not really. Different how? He said, you two had basically broken up months ago. There it was. The first crack. The first glimpse behind the curtain. He told us the relationship was already over. It wasn't. I know. How? Silence. Then Lauren answered, because Marissa called him. That got my attention. What? After he came back? I sat completely still. Lauren continued, apparently, she found out you were still together. My pulse quickened. How? He admitted it. I closed my eyes. Of course. Eventually, lies collapse under their own weight. What happened? She dumped him. Fast. Very fast. The image almost made me laugh. The woman worth destroying a relationship for hadn't even stayed. Lauren sounded exhausted. He cried for days. I'll survive the tragedy. Claire. What? Please don't make jokes. I could hear genuine frustration in her voice. Not at me. At him. At the situation. At reality. I'm sorry. I said. It's just. What? He risked everything. For someone who left immediately. Lauren laughed unexpectedly. A short, bitter laugh. Trust me. Mom isn't finding it funny. I could imagine. Denise had spent months treating Ethan like a victim. Now, the narrative wasn't cooperating. A few days later, another phone call arrived. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Almost. Instead, I answered, hello. A woman's voice replied. Claire. Yes. This is Marissa. Everything inside me froze. For a moment, I wondered whether I had heard correctly. The woman from the trip. The woman Ethan had chosen. The woman who supposedly justified destroying our relationship. Okay. I know this is weird. That's one word for it. She sighed. Can we talk for 5 minutes? Every instinct told me to hang up. Curiosity won. 5? Thank you. She sounded nervous. Genuinely nervous. Not manipulative. Not defensive. Just uncomfortable. I'm calling because Ethan lied to both of us. No surprise there. But hearing it from her felt different. He told me you broke up months ago. I closed my eyes. Of course he did. He said the relationship was over. It wasn't. I know that now. The embarrassment in her voice sounded real. I found out after he got home. How? A pause. Then she answered. He started crying about losing you. That was almost funny. Almost. I asked why someone would be heartbroken over an ex from months ago. I stayed silent. He couldn't keep the story straight. What happened after that? I left. Simple. Clean. Decisive. Exactly what should have happened. Then her voice lowered. There's something else. The tone changed. A warning. Something heavier. Something important. My stomach tightened. What? I found one of his journals. The room suddenly felt colder. A journal? Yes. And Marissa hesitated. When she spoke again, her voice was careful. Claire. I think you need to see what was inside. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I sat frozen at my kitchen table. Marissa was silent on the other end of the line. The word journal kept echoing in my head. Ethan had always written. Not publicly. Not online. Just private notebooks filled with thoughts. Travel notes. Observations. And what he called emotional processing. For 3 years, I had respected that privacy. I never opened a single one, never asked to, never snooped. Now, I wondered if that had been a mistake. What was in it? I finally asked. Marissa exhaled slowly. Alut. My stomach tightened. Marissa. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Just say it. Another pause. Then she did. He planned everything. The words landed like a physical blow. What do you mean? I mean, he wrote about you. I gripped the edge of the table. And me? The room suddenly felt very small. He had timelines. Timelines. Yes. I closed my eyes. No. No way. But some instinct deep inside me already knew. Some instinct had known, ever since that phone call from the beach. He wrote about transitioning from one relationship to another. The air left my lungs. He called it emotional migration. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was horrifying. You're kidding. I wish I was. The sound of paper rustling came through the phone. Marissa was holding the journal, reading directly from it. Maintain stability with Claire until certainty threshold is reached. My heart stopped. Then she continued. Avoid confrontation until alternative future becomes emotionally viable. I stared at the wall, unable to speak, unable to process. Marissa's voice sounded distant now, like it was coming from another room. Present travel as self-discovery to minimize suspicion. Another page turned. Avoid triggering defensive reactions until branch transition is secure. Branch transition. I suddenly understood. Not a relationship. Not love. Not commitment. A transfer. Like moving money between bank accounts. Like changing jobs. Like replacing furniture. My entire relationship had apparently become a strategic exit plan. Oh my God. I know. The sadness in Marissa's voice surprised me. She sounded hurt too. Used. Humiliated. I thought I was special. I almost laughed again. Not at her. At the absurdity. At the irony. At the fact that Ethan had somehow managed to manipulate two women simultaneously while believing himself to be the enlightened one. What else? There are pages about me. My chest tightened. What do they say? Marissa hesitated, then answered. He called me geographically convenient. I blinked. What? He wrote that I lived close enough to support a transition if things with you ended. I rubbed my forehead. This couldn't be real. And yet, somehow, it felt completely real. Too real. Every strange conversation, every vague explanation, every inconsistency, every unexplained emotional distance, suddenly, it all fit together. Like pieces of a puzzle I never wanted to solve, he kept comparing us. My jaw clenched. Comparing. He made lists? Of course he did. Pros. Com. Advantages. Risks. I could practically see it. The same man who once spent 40 minutes comparing backpacks online had apparently applied the same process to human beings. Claire. Yeah. You okay? No. At least that answer was honest. Marissa was quiet. Then she said something unexpected. I'm sorry. I laughed bitterly. You didn't cheat on me. I still participated. You didn't know? I should have asked more questions. Maybe, maybe not. Either way, the damage was done. Neither of us had been given the truth. We'd both been given versions, characters in a story Ethan wrote for himself. Can you send me photos? I already took them. Good. I'll email everything. Within minutes the files arrived. 37 images. 37 pieces of evidence. 37 reasons my stomach felt sick. I opened the first photo, then the second, then the third. By the 10th, I wished I hadn't. By the 20th, I couldn't stop. Because once you discover somebody has been lying, you become desperate to understand how much was real, One entry was dated almost 5 months before the breakup. 5 months. Ethan had already been planning an exit strategy before I even knew there was a problem. Another entry described me as emotionally dependable, a backup, a safety net, a secure foundation, not a girlfriend, not a partner, an insurance policy. I felt physically ill. The worst part wasn't the cheating. Not anymore. The worst part was realizing how calculated it had been. The patience, the planning, the manipulation, the way he had carefully positioned himself to benefit, regardless of outcome. If things worked with Marissa, he would leave. If they didn't, he would return. Either way, he expected me to remain available, waiting, loyal, reliable, exactly where he left me. A week later, I met Daniel Reeves again. I handed him printed copies. He read quietly. His expression became darker with each page. Finally, he closed the folder. Well, this is horrifying. That's encouraging. He ignored the sarcasm. Keep every copy. You think he'll try something else? I think people who plan like this rarely accept responsibility. Unfortunately, he was right. A few weeks later, another lawyer's letter arrived. Different law firm, different attorney. Same nonsense. This one accused me of spreading false information and damaging Ethan's reputation. I laughed when I read it, because I hadn't said anything publicly. Nothing. Not one social media post. Not one interview. Not one accusation. The people destroying Ethan's reputation were Ethan and his journal. Daniel responded immediately. A single letter. Professional. Brutal. My client has made no public statements regarding your client. Please provide evidence supporting your allegations, or cease contact. The second lawyer disappeared almost instantly. No follow-up, no lawsuit, nothing, because there was no case. Only threats, only noise. Months passed. The legal drama finally died. The social media campaign slowed down. Life became quieter. Then Lauren called one last time. Her voice sounded different, heavier, more serious. I probably shouldn't tell you this. Then don't. I'm serious. That got my attention. What happened? A long silence. Then she spoke. Ethan's telling people you abused him. Every muscle in my body locked. What? Not financially anymore. The room went cold. What is he saying? Lauren sounded exhausted. That the relationship was toxic. I almost laughed. Then she continued. And that you were physically aggressive. The laughter died instantly. My blood ran cold. What? I know. He knows that's a lie. I know. I never touched him. I know. The silence that followed felt endless. Because some accusations aren't just lies. They're weapons. And once they're released, you can't control where they go. Why are you telling me this? I asked quietly. Loan Sahil. Because I can't keep defending him. Because I'm tired. Because he's rewriting reality. And because somebody should warn you before it gets worse. The line went quiet. For the first time since all of this began, I realized something important. Even the people closest to Ethan were starting to see the truth. And when that happens, the story usually ends. The only question left was how much damage would be done before it did